When talking about the amazing world of plants, it is impossible not to mention the famous desert plant Welwitschia mirabilis. Welwitschia mirabilis, also known as desert octopus, tomboa, tumbu, among other names. This plant occurs in the Namib Desert, more precisely in southern Angola and northern Namibia. Welwitschia is a monotypic genus of gymnosperm plants, whose only species is the famous Welwitschia mirabilis. The Welwitschias are gnetophytic plants of the class Gnetopsida, belonging to the order Welwitschiales and family Welwitschiaceae. This was a plant collected in the 19th century and aroused special interest. Naturalists were fascinated by this amazing plant. Through the analysis of newspapers of the time that mentioned the plant and correspondence between scientists, it is possible to verify how intrigued they were by this botanical novelty. It is said that Frederick Welwitsch was astonished, somewhat incredulous at this rare plant, fearing that it was a hallucination of his senses. Joseph Dalton Hooker, director of Kew Botanic Gardens in London, said, "It is without question the most wonderful plant that ever appeared on Earth, and also the ugliest." Charles Darwin, in his correspondence with Hooker, he also refers to Welwitschia. "Your African plant appears to be a vegetable ornithorhynchus." But what makes this plant special? It has characteristics that seem opposite. That is, according to the botanist at the time, these characteristics should not be gathered in the same plant. The fleshy, succulent leaves resemble desert cacti. The cone or pine-shaped reproductive organs resemble conifers. Thus, to the lack of characteristics that would bring it closer to other plants, a new botanical family was created, Welwitschiaceae, where since then there was only been one genus, Welwitschia. Welwitschia is included in the division Gnetophyta. Gnetopsida is a monotypic division of spermatophyte plants, having as the only class Gnetopsida, that groups species without true flowers, but with a vascular system similar to angiosperms. Gnetophytes are usually classified as gymnosperms, despite having vessels like angiosperms. Thus, the closest relatives of Welwitschia are pines. In addition to these features, it reaches the extraordinary age of 1500 to 2000 years. Regarding its structure, it is a creeping plant consisting of a very short woody stem that emerges in the form of a large, more or less irregular disc with a diameter of almost 1 meter, from which only 2 leaves emerge. The leaves are thick and have continuous growth from its base, like our hair. The leaves stretch across the ground, and as they grow, the limbs are torn apart, making it seem as if the plant is made of multiple leaves. The leaves and stem are impregnated with calcium oxalate, which makes the leaves unappetizing for animals, and the stem cannot be used as firewood. These characteristics ended up protecting Welwitschia from predators. It also consists of enormous roots that reaches considerable depths. Regarding the strobili, or cones, they are specialized fertile branches of gymnosperm plants. In the case of Welwitschia, the female and male reproductive structures, the strobili, are found in different individuals. Male cones are smaller and reddish, and female cones are larger and greenish. These plants have an alternative photosynthetic mechanism, characteristic of plants adapted to arid environments, such as chem. In this process, the plants produce malic acid during the night, and as a result of the fixation of CO2, which they store inside the vacuoles of leaf cells. During the day, CO2 is transferred from malic acid to the Calvin cycle. In this way, the plant manages to maintain a high efficiency of water use, stomata open at night and closed during the day. It is thus extremely well adapted to extreme dryness, giving this characteristic of adapting to extreme situations. And since climate change is a must-discuss topic at the moment, research is being carried out at the genetic level in which Welwitschia can help humans to produce more resistant food using less water. Family fossils of Welwitschia were found in Brazil, dating from the Lower Cretaceous, before the opening of the Atlantic Ocean that separated Africa from South America, Upper Cretaceous. This fact suggests that in the Lower Cretaceous, these two continents were united, which constitute an important argument in favor of continental drift theory. Since there are fossils records of relatives of Welwitschia in the time of dinosaurs, in the Jurassic period, that is why it is considered a living fossil. On September the 3rd, Angola celebrates the National Day of Welwitschia Mirabilis, one of the national symbols of the country, due to its resistance and longevity. Thus, it is common to find Welwitschia on stamps. Its name is also used on soft drinks. Welwitschia's name is also used as a given name. One of the daughters of José Eduardo dos Santos, president of Angola until 2017, is named Welwitschia dos Santos. Due to the strong presence of this plant in Namibia, the players of the Namibian rugby national team are nicknamed Welwitschias. Researchers spent countless hours among archives, herbaria, and collections of objects. Between drawings, dried plants, maps, notes, and study diaries, the story was born. The encounter between a desert plant and the naturalist Frederick. The book Frederick and the Wonderful Plant was born. This story is born from the imagination of an encounter that actually happened. The instruments and field material were inspired by the descriptions and objects that belong to Frederick, such as the magnifying glass or the microscope, which is currently at the Linnean Society in London. And who was Frederick? Frederick Welwitsch was an Austrian botanist and physician who found the Welwitschia plant, which at the time was not called Welwitschia, but tumbu, on September the 3rd, 1859, in the Namib Desert in Angola. Through a children's tale about a plant that thought it was alone in the desert until Frederick found it, it is intended to bring the history of science to younger people, in addition to talking about characteristics of the plant Welwitschia mirabilis. At the end of the book, care was taken to mention that there is wonderful heritage of local stories and vernacular botanical knowledge of Angola, which involve Welwitschia in particular. However, this children's tale only reflects research in archives and herbariums, so there are still many stories to tell and much research to be done.